Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
is this
Delta
text
Y.
super small
What's small?
on your screen? Is it too hard to read on your screen?
No, it's all right. We can give you the full screen, right? How do we do that?
Nah, it's fine. I'll just zoom in a little bit because this is what
Bam.
I was going to show you here.
Yeah, we got the full
Okay.
screen. Go ahead.
What's up, DevTips people? I was just doing a little show and tell for Trav, and since it is DevTips, we figured we would just go live, and I could just share it because hopefully there's still developer interested people here. And I was telling Travis has been out of the game programming for quite some time, and I was telling him how fun it is now. Like he never got into even VS Code, let alone React,
Yeah,
modern JavaScript.
I was still doing Atom from GitHub
Oh man,
when I laid down my sword. It was Atom was the cool thing. So we're coming
VS
up on
Code
like
took over.
7 or 8 years ago.
Dog, now there's GitHub Copilot.
I know,
like,
right? Yeah, yeah.
It just helps you. Just helps you speed up stuff.
Yeah, dude,
It's
I want to tell
nice.
you a
Yeah.
funny story. This week, I got some emails from one of these AI coding buddy tools, and they're like, "You want to sponsor some content?" And I was like, "All right, like, what do you want to do?" And then we were kind of working out a discussion about like, "Oh, yeah, we'll have you come on and do a tech demo and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, here's our sponsorship rates." And then they're looking at our dev tips, and they're like, it looks like you only had one recent live stream and it's had X many views. He's like, that's not a lot. I was like, yeah, well, here's the long story about
yeah, well,
why.
you tried doing it, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't get offended. I was just
you called me. I didn't call you.
Hey,
What are we doing here?
Dave's here. Dave says,
what's up, Dave?
Dave says jQuery, because that's like jQuery is like as technical as
jQuery.
dude. Like, I loved
was fun.
jQuery at the time, dude.
Yeah, apparently they just updated it. Apparently there was this big update.
Oh,
I haven't looked into it because I'm fine with just JavaScript and React. I don't really need anything else, I don't think.
well, if you got that vanilla, bro, you can go anywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the base flavor. So
Yeah. And speaking about that, like check this out though. This is what I was showing you.
Tell me what's up.
Because you were asking me
I was like,
what
what's
the
Delta
SKU
Y?
is.
Yeah.
But also why there's Delta Y. This container, I have a magic mouse, so I can just swipe. So it acts like a trackpad, so I can scroll left and right, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is a lot of people don't. They have mouse wheels. So this is great for mobile devices, right? So on like a responsive device, you can still swipe, and it works just fine. It's just native CSS overflow X, right? But a lot of people, they're still using like clunky mouse that aren't from the future that have wheels, and you can only go up and down. So what I like to do usually as a quick thing is just there's React has synthetic events, so you can say like on wheel, on touch start, on move, and I'm using on wheel here.
Events. Okay.
Yeah, and it's tracking the events in the virtual DOM, I guess. I don't know. Apparently, if you use the synthetic events, it's faster. I don't really know, but it's definitely easier because you can just do this, right? Instead of saying like document get element by ID, event listener, wheel, and then unmount it, you can just do this, right? Which is
I know about selectors, bro.
Mm-hmm. We don't need that here. So what I'm doing here is on wheel of this container. When they scroll up and down, this will just assign those up and down deltas to the horizontal scrolling. So now, as you can see, when I'm scrolling up and down, it goes left and right. And it goes left and right if you swipe as well as on mobile devices. So that's what the Delta Y thing was that you're asking about.
Got it. So you're capturing the vertical scroll and putting it on a Y.
Yeah.
Y-axis. That's far out. Okay.
Yeah, which is it's just a quick little one-liner.
Yeah.
And like, because all over the web, we have stuff that overflows horizontally. And it's great if you have a trackpad or a touch device. You can just hide the scroll bars and it's swiping left and right thing.
Juan says hello.
So many people have scroll
I'm gonna interrupt you.
wheels.
Juan says hello. Haven't seen you for years now. Thanks for everything. You really helped me at the beginning of my dev career. Go ahead. Just interrupt you for that. Say what's up to Juan.
No. I didn't see.
Oh, I put it on the screen. Do you want me to put it again? Here we go.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. Oh, you're not looking at our broadcast.
Yeah, well,
screen?
I have you over here, and then I have my screen over here.
Am I teeny? Oh, yeah, okay, because you're doing the screen share. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
done with the interruption. Go
and
ahead.
this way it looks like I'm looking more in this direction, which is more natural for you guys, right? It's kind of weird if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
constantly
Give us that Natch
talking this way.
vibes.
Yeah. So yeah, you were asking about scroll. Right here, I'm just setting the delta Y into state. But right now, I just did this temporarily because I'm just kind of doing some run and gun down and dirty stuff right here.
Is skew a part of React?
No, it's a part of CSS. Well,
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
so you can see here, I'm setting this value of this delta Y inside of a state value. So as I move, this number changes. And you can see here, let me zoom in a little bit, that the style transforms skew.
There we go.
Right? And I'm just passing in skew. I'm multiplying by 0.2 to slow it down. So it's not so fast. And then I'm reversing it so I get
coding is
an angle
fun.
with movement.
I kind of like don't do this stuff anymore, and coding is really fun. I remember like just like
bends?
oh yeah, dude, that's gorgeous, bro. Oh, I love it.
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
I love it, and it's awesome when the video is playing and you can see it skewing around.
Yeah. It's nice because you can get kind of like almost like 3JS stuff, just attaching mouse movement and scroll movement to a lot of different CSS properties.
This is really simple too.
And it's super simple. Yeah, I mean, there's no other code here. I just have my skew here and then, my little fix for vertical, horizontal scrolling syncing.
Right.
In a single line, which is nice. And then,
So you're redesigning Shy Crush?
Yeah. The one that I have up right now is, I don't know. I mean, I threw this up really quickly just to have something up, but it's really just like a snapping scroll thing. And I don't like it. It's not very fun or cool. And this thing doesn't make any sense. So what I'm doing now is something a little bit more like this, where I have my horizontal scroller with a counter. And I'll have an index, where you click and you see it like just the names of the songs and videos. And when you scroll over in the background, following the mouse will be the video.
So the songs, how long are they on average? I've seen like they're like 2 or 3 minutes each. Is that right?
2 to 4 minutes. Yeah. Like a normal
So they're the
song.
full songs, right? They're the full song. It's not just a clip.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, these are the full videos. Yeah.
So essentially shycrush.com will become like a little virtual album like idea.
Well, yeah, the whole thing, the way that I have it built now, it actually is just a big music player. So when you actually play this, it'll go to the selected. You can't hear that, can you?
No, it's not coming through.
Okay, interesting. I wonder why yours comes through and mine doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, maybe because it's still here. I'll quit mine. Stop screen. Now does yours?
Let's see.
No, you don't have a little microphone next to your stream.
Interesting. Well, I can always change that. I have a thing on my computer.
Oh, I know why. It's because you're sharing your screen and not your tab. That's probably
I
it.
have to share my tab?
Yeah. If I bet you this is it. So if you share, like go down to present in the live streaming thing and share just your tab, it will probably give you the audio too. That's my bet. I don't know.
Okay. Well, you don't need to hear it for now. It's fine.
But it's really good. But anyway.
But yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but when these change at the end of the video, it automatically goes to the next track, and you can actually navigate. So it has like a traditional like audio player, but it's actually syncing with the video.
Yeah.
Right. So you're asking if Shy Crush is a big album, like it is. It's just kind of one big media player, essentially.
Yeah.
But I do want to take like a cooler artistic approach where it's more of a gallery. And it'll still have the same functionality, right? I'm not changing like the player state management or anything. I'm using all that same logic underneath. I'm just changing the presentation of those things, right?
Well, let me ask you this: like one of the definitions of an album is that there's like, it's like an encapsulated idea. There's a beginning and a middle and an end. Is this like just like a forever stream? Like you're going to make these videos? This is a forever
stream.
Okay, so it's not going to be okay. Cool.
Yeah, a forever stream and also not just of music videos. Like if I publish like a YouTube tutorial, I might put it here. Whatever's recent. Because as you can see in my design here, I have links for YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. Ultimately, these will not look like this. It's just a placeholder, obviously. But
got it.
But each one of these will have corresponding links to each of those networks. So like you can click it to see it on YouTube and share it from there, or LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn. Instagram.
Yeah, it does look like LinkedIn.
yeah. I should probably just say Insta. Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, a forever stream of whatever I want, but it's mainly going to be focused on these, little video art things that I've been making.
Yeah.
And I did, though, create not a full album, but a little EP. This video and one that I'm going to publish later today or tomorrow is going to, it's a 2-song, I called it an album or a record because it's got a side A and a side B. It's just 2 tracks.
Oh,
I
your
thought
EP
it was
is?
fun. Yeah, they're kind of grouped together under a single thing because they were both produced as part of like a beat or a sample flip challenge.
Yeah, that challenge you were talking about a week ago or before that. Yeah. How did that go?
Yeah.
Do they have results yet?
Well, the funny thing is, I was really stoked, and I cooked up 2 pretty cool tracks and made videos for it, and I was like, this is gonna be super cool. And then realized that only people in the U.S. are eligible.
Oh.
So like, I'm not even.
Because they don't want to pay for shipping for the prize.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think all the prizes are just digital.
Oh.
They're like digital
Shipping is
downloads,
expensive for
but it's
digital.
some kind of. There's always legal weird.
Yeah.
Once you go corporate, like it's backed by Native Instruments and this other thing called High Note, and I imagine there's like a small marketing department.
Yeah.
Working
Dude,
on it.
but your tracks are really good. You've been sending them to me. I'm super jealous.
Thank you, man.
You've always
Why are you
been
jealous.
because you're so
You make
talented.
music too.
I know. I was making a beat on my iPad last night, but they're just like I make a loop, not even like just like anything crazy, and then I'm like, I don't know what to do with this after this. You make full tracks. I don't know. I guess I'm just jealous of your talent, is what I'm saying.
Well, I
and
appreciate
that's a
that.
compliment. That's a compliment.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
I like to maintain the position that I suck, and that
Yeah.
I'd like to be better, but I
Keep a
appreciate
learner's mind. That's good. That's good.
that. But this shit's tight though, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah,
A little
dude.
skew with just a couple one-liners.
I love it.
Yeah. What about you guys in the chat? Are you guys still looking to hear dev stuff?
Yeah, dude. They're loving this, man.
If people are still interested.
Yeah. Give us some more wow about what you've got going on here technically.
Well, nothing much. This is just running in a Next.js project with TypeScript, which I include just because I think you're supposed to, but I've still never been a fan of it. I use it. I'm like, okay. Sometimes it helps a little bit, but the overhead is insane. I mean, listen, if you're on a team of people and you need to manage the way people are coding,
Okay.
then it makes sense, right? Like to enforce things. But if you're coding alone and you're just, like a personal thing, like out of habit, I include TypeScript just because you have to. Like,
Okay.
but it is, yeah.
I'll be a little bit honest here. I don't even know what TypeScript really is. Like,
It's essentially like a blanket on top of JavaScript, like a whole other thing to turn it into a strongly typed language.
oh,
So
it's like
so when
forcing
you're
style.
writing, yeah, like forces conventions.
Okay.
It'll catch errors, and that does help. Like I've worked on teams where like developers just don't check their work, and like things would go to production and be like, look at the way this looks. Like, did they
Yeah.
not like resize the window to see what happens? Like that's their job. Like, so or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I can see how it helps in those situations because it'll force them to identify errors. But if you're like me or you're checking your work. If you're, I
Right.
think that it's your
Yeah.
responsibility to, check and be aware before anything goes to production. But
I mean, that was kind of
don't
like the fun of coding is like, it's like checking, like it's like solving
developing
a puzzle.
the film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Developing the film, right. In the dark room, just
What about in the
resizing.
chat? How many people we got? We have 11 people here. Is
Got 11
anybody
watching.
using TypeScript?
Yeah. Type a comment in
Has
the
anybody used it for
in
a
the
while?
chat if you're
And
into
how much do
TypeScript.
we hate it together?
Dude, why don't you share just the browser window so we can hear some of these jams? They're really, really good.
I'll try that. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
try
see.
that.
Stop screen.
See if my theory works.
Present. Share screen.
Mm.
Chrome tab. And I guess it would be this one.
La 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 la.
And it did say also share tab audio. Although I don't have any audio on this one yet because this is the one.
Wait, no audio's gonna play?
Not on this one. Let's see if it will share this tab. Yeah, it doesn't. it only shares a single tab, so I can't open another.
You can't switch tabs with it shares?
No, but here, I'm going to show you something cool. I'm going to go to
you have
the
to
entire
impress me.
screen
You have
again.
to wow me.
So this is what I've been telling you to download is Caster from
Dave says,
Ginger Audio.
Dave says, dabbled in TypeScript. However, not a coder by a long shot. Amora data analysis. Can't I read right now?
Nice.
Amora data analysis analyst. It's been a lot. Why I can't read right now? It's been a lot of time in Power BI. I don't know what that is. Power BI. What do you got? What are you showing me? Is this Winamp?
No, this is Caster.
You got a Winamp skin here.
And I want to share my desktop audio, but I also don't want your audio coming back to you. If it works.
That came back to me. Do I sound good?
I
sound good?
Are you echoing?
Yes, but I don't have. Monitor, so it's nice to hear my voice.
Well, you're not echoing to me. But yeah, I think maybe
there's going to be an echo. Echo.
Yeah, it's possible.
Echo.
Are you still echoing?
Yeah. Dude, I have this canyon that I run up to from my door, and I get up and it's this beautiful view. I call it Cockadoodle Canyon. So when I go when I get up to the top, and the Cockadoodle echoes throughout the canyon. It's lit. I got that from from Peter Pan.
I guess we're not going to do it this way.
No.
Yeah, because I'd have to figure it out before. I don't want to do this on stream.
Have you ever heard of a speech jammer? Have you heard of a speech jammer?
Speech jammer? No.
Yeah.
What's
speech jammer is this like little. It's a silly like app, but essentially it's a microphone and a delay, and you put your headphones on, and it delays your own speech to you, and it's like so hard to think straight when your own voice is arriving in your ears a little bit delayed. It's hard to get to the next thought. So it like really jams you up. It's hard to talk. It's an app. Just look it up, Speech Jammer on iOS, and just use headphones. Since I can't text and drive, I have speech to text. Oh, is that why I couldn't read what he was doing? He's driving. You're driving right now, Dave? Dave is listening to the live stream and chiming in on the chat, driving.
Nice. Good on you.
Don't tell the popo. Damn. So what do you got planned for today? You're the host of the live stream.
Yeah. Just wanted to check in with you, see how your week's going, see what you think about DevTips so far since the last live stream. It's
fun. Did I tell you the story? Like this guy was like, I'm going to do a host. Yeah, I started telling you that story. So he was like, yeah, let's Dave says, I listen to it like a podcast, but interactive. It's exactly what it is. So,
nice.
Yeah, this fella contacted me, and he's the marketing manager for an AI co-pilot type of coding buddy, Right. And he's like, oh, we're having a big launch. We want to come out and do a tech demo. And I was like, yeah, it sounds fun. I could use some extra dollars. And then he's like, oh, it looks like you're only getting X amount of views. You just started up. You only have one live stream. And that was like since last week. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I was like, here's the long story. And I told him about like how these other dudes bought it like 7 years ago and what they did with it. And I told him about Andrew.
The whole spiel.
I gave him the whole spiel because like the context really helps. Like, because this is like a YouTube channel / podcast on the rebound, like we're bringing back the quality, we're bringing back the humanity and like in the activity, right? Like it was kind of not super active. And he's like, okay, well, our launch is going to happen in a few months. Maybe by that time you're pulling in good numbers. So I didn't get the deal.
Nice. Well, yeah. Oh, shucks.
That's okay. I'm not here for the deals anyway, but it was just like this funny email. I do get these emails every now and then, and I'm like, it makes me wonder how much these people who are looking for sponsorship, partners and stuff, I get these emails like, hey, would you like to partner with our product or whatever?
I wonder how many of them are genuine though, and how many are spam, like just auto-generated?
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm always like, do you watch the channel? Like, do you have
I
any
get
idea who we are?
my spam box is full every day of people being like, "Do you need mobile app development? Hey,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can."
yeah.
Or I noticed your search ranking, like
But that's people who wanting you
do you
to
want to
pay
partner
them,
up?
right?
No, but I've received some that are like, partner up with our brand, and I'm
Okay.
like, do you? This is weird,
Yeah,
and it's written
what's your
to
angle?
Villa or to yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, they're mostly just auto generated because I have a bunch of different email accounts, and
Mm,
I'll receive the same ones or like slightly altered on different accounts, or
mm.
Anyway, all I'm saying is be careful on the internet, Travis.
Yeah, I hear you. Be careful on the internet.
Okay. But you think it was a genuine person,
Yeah, yeah. We had a back
human
and forth
typing to you?
correspondence. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. We talked
Yeah.
for maybe like 4 or 5 back and forths. So it was genuine, but it didn't work out. Maybe we can grow the channel. We'll get some sponsors, but I don't really care about that. I never really historically have. One time, actually, probably my biggest sponsorship with DevTips ever was like pretty early on. And I think I've hidden the video now because it's kind of embarrassing, but
Mm-hmm.
it was Wix. Do you know Wix? This like
Yeah.
website builder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like doing a channel where I was teaching people how to design it
It's
in code.
WordPress is like slow
Yeah.
younger stepbrother.
It's like a
It's
no
like
code environment, drag and
yeah.
drop web builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sponsored a video for $5,000.
Really?
And yeah, it
Good
was
on them.
pretty early on too. And I didn't have that big of a following. And also my content was like opposed to what they're like. It was like not really working, like the vibe of my
Yeah,
content was
you're
like teaching people how to
teaching people
code.
how to not use their platform.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
so the angle that I took is I made this video, which was like, teach your mom how to make a website. And then I was like, we're going to learn how to code. But if you
Mhm.
want your mom to make her own website, like this is what she should use.
That's the right angle, though. I
Yeah.
was actually going to say it seems like it's conflicting because you're teaching people to free themselves of being reliant upon a platform like that. But
Yeah.
what's the percentage of people who would get like interested in code or say, I want to build my site, go to your channel, and then be like, I don't feel like doing this. And
Yeah.
then they use
The
Wix.
overhead is pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to learn a whole new skill. You got to do it's an investment of time and
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
I took my kids to the library and got them library cards, which is funny because I don't have a driver's license. I lost it. And you need a driver's license for some reason to get a library card. So, but I used like I have a picture on the back of my Costco card. So that worked. That worked.
The picture on the back of your Costco card worked. Okay,
Yeah, at the
that's not very
library.
secure.
No,
Jeez.
no. it's like, okay,
Need
we have a
to
low bar for
increase
credentials
the
here at the
security at the
public
library.
library. There's like people running scams at the library, just
Anybody,
renting all the books.
yeah,
Where's all the
anybody could be
books?
looking at microfiche right now.
These scammers, right?
Yeah.
Fish scammers.
Dave is saying, had a lady who wanted to be on the podcast, said that was in line with what she was trying to accomplish.
Oops.
Whoops.
Sorry.
We both clicked it.
We did it. You do it. You click it.
No, you do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Sorry, I was just getting excited. I wanted to know how the story ended.
Details of the podcast. Okay.
Yeah,
Dave, if you could
have a
provide us with
podcast?
some more details.
Yeah.
About what you're talking
Dave has a
about.
podcast, and a lady wanted to be on it. It's a pretty good story so far.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially for talk to text. That's
Well, I took my kids to
that
the
never works for me.
talk to text. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's driving and sending
Whether you're
live
driving or
chats.
not, like talk to text. I've never been successful. I think I have marbles in my mouth.
Oh, maybe.
So the Siri doesn't know what the hell I'm saying.
I find it pretty good. I've got a lot of good ones. But anyway, took my kids to the library and got got some books. And then there was this other kid I was taking home from school, and he was like, he was actually doing some book scamming because he used my daughter's library card to rent some books. And I was like, you got to take those back on time. You can't be late, bro. But he got like these HTML and CSS books from the library. And I was like, are people still doing that? Like,
Nice.
is that where
Good
you
on.
learn? Yeah. And he was like, I
Well-
want to make something. I was like, okay.
I think we all did when we got into it, right? Like when we got.
Well, that was back in the day
we
before
would
web
get like
content.
books on design and on development.
When I started design, development was always kind of like more online. I was learning, from blogs and stuff.
You
There was a
never
pretty
at
vibrant
like Tower
community.
Records moseyed into like the educational section and picked up a little book on
A
CSS or
book?
something?
No,
Yeah, yeah, they had like
but all
some
my
super
design,
popular ones.
I have like a pretty big design library here. It goes
Mm.
kind of over here. There's a few rows of it, even
What's your
down there.
favorite one you got there?
My favorite design book?
Favorite
Oh,
design book? Yeah.
probably this one here. So this isn't necessarily like a how-to, but it's David Carson's The End of Print. Do you know this one?
Okay. No.
Dude, you know who David Carson is?
No.
Oh, bro. Okay, David Carson is this designer from the 80s. Well, he's still
David
around.
Kernston?
Carson, Carson.
Carson?
Yeah. He
Okay.
he was the designer of Ray Gun magazine and also
Uh-huh.
Surfer magazine.
Okay.
Like how like surf magazines have a style that like skate magazines like Thrasher kind of have that style, but surf magazines, specifically Surfer and Surfing, those
Yeah.
magazines, they have like an incredible style even today. That
Yeah.
was all set in motion by Dave Carson in the 80s. But like
Okay.
you see
Nice.
his style is like post-modernism. It's just fucked up. It's like punky grunge design.
It's almost like
And
brutalist a little. Yeah.
I mean, I would say even like brutalism has structure and geometric shape and rules. Like it's
Mhm.
harsh, but there's rules. Like David Carson has like he's no rules,
A
bro.
little more punk rock. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's totally punk rock. And like the story is like he came to publishing during the 80s when like desktop publishing was just becoming a thing, like Aldus, like PageMaker and stuff, something like that.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Salim has a good point that like a lot of people do go to libraries to learn because some countries have limited access to the internet. Great point. But anyway, yeah, David Carson, he actually has a masterclass out. Do you know masterclass.com? He has a masterclass
I am
teaching
aware
people
of it.
how to
Yeah.
design, because his whole thing was like, he came around, in the 80s where modernism was huge, like everybody's like, oh, there you have to use the grid and, everything is Helvetica and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, have you seen the Helvetica documentary by Gary
Oh, yeah.
Huswit?
Yeah. A
Yeah,
long time ago.
Dave
Yeah, it's an
Carson's
old
in
one.
there. He's in that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he's the guy that has like a bunch of words printed out in Helvetica behind him. And he points to
Didn't
the word coffee in Helvetica. He's like, coffee? Really? And it's like, Helvetica? And
oh yeah, I
he's like,
do remember that.
that
Okay, I know
guy.
who that guy is. I do
Yeah,
remember
he's a
that
wild
scene. Yeah.
boy. He's like
Yeah.
the wild boy of design. And I
He
have
was
like a
the
few
one
of
that
his
preferred
books.
to use like was he using Franklin Gothic because it was not Helvetica but close enough.
He would
Or-
just choose, he would
yeah.
do everything, and he would distress type, and he wouldn't really care if you could read the
He
article.
didn't like the ubiquity of it.
Yeah, there's this legendary story of him in one of these Raygun magazines where, like, he read an interview. Somebody, one of the interview, like a reporter, sent him an interview that they did, and he read it, and he was so bored by it that when he put it in the magazine, he changed the font to Wingdings. So nobody could read it, and he just printed it in Wingdings.
That's a good move.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good bit.
he also did a really cool one that I just still love. It's like there was this band, I think it was maybe Blur was the band, but there's an interview with him, and he put like the third page of the interview on the cover, like, so like just no context. You had to like go to the cover to finish reading the interview, and just like stuff like that. Like he just like would break all the rules. And he was just like avant-garde design, really like from the hip, from the heart,
Yeah, the whole early like 2010, 2000 to 2010, there was like a really cool period of like design and like the beginning of smartphones, and Hipstamatic came out, and Art and Copy and Helvetica came out. Remember watching Art and Copy at the office? And
Art
I think
and
we watched
Copy was
Helvetica
dope.
there.
Helvetica was cool.
And hipsters were like into design and like beards and mustaches instead of politics, right? Like there was a golden
hipsters
age,
were into mustaches
and they were
more
into
than
music and stuff, and nobody's into anything now.
That's
Everyone,
true.
it's the internet. I was thinking about it too. Like back then, this kind of harking back on the conversation that we had before, is that people had friends, and now everyone's
People
a
don't have
stalker.
friends.
Everyone just follows each other. They just have followers. Do you follow this person?
No friends.
It's a weird thing. Everyone just like stalks people, and there's not friends on the internet.
I was trying to make some friends on LinkedIn.
Network that had friends, right? But LinkedIn, are you friends on LinkedIn, or do you?
I was
just
trying to
follow
make some
people?
friends. No, you.
But what's it called when you connect with somebody? It's just a connection on LinkedIn.
Connect, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
connect. But
and
they
it's
have to accept it.
They have to accept it. Okay.
You can do both on LinkedIn. You can follow and connect, and I prefer.
I
I prefer what's
to,
real, bro.
To
the connection on
wipe my
LinkedIn
ass with LinkedIn sucks, dude. LinkedIn is lame.
LinkedIn is lame. However,
LinkedIn
like
is the worst thing.
it sucks. But as I've gone through my career, I realized that like it is one of the more valuable places to have an online presence.
What?
So yeah, well, just like
Maybe.
career wise, professional
Yeah,
wise.
I don't know.
Yeah. So like my social media
Depends on
has been
who you're
cold.
hobnobbing with. You know what I mean? Like who you're rubbing elbows with. If it's
People
like
who give you
older
money.
corporate dudes,
Yeah,
then
those
and
are the
who are
guys who
giving you
have the
money,
money
then
right
yeah,
now.
they're on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Corporate
But
bros.
older
Yeah.
corporate dude and
Well,
young
also
corporate
like
people,
people that you've just met along your
corporate
career the
people.
whole time. Like when I was young, I would go, like be in a company, you know, and then somebody would come in and then they'd give you all their like LinkedIn, like, hey, let's join on LinkedIn. And I'd be like, man, that's corny. Like I built my own website. I'm cool, you know.
It
But
still
as
is corny. It's crazy that it's
no,
still
it is
around. It's
corny.
never improved.
LinkedIn
Nobody's
is
challenged
corny.
it. How come
Did I
there
tell you the
hasn't been
time I got hired
another?
at LinkedIn? Did I ever
Actually,
tell
yeah.
you that?
Oh, yeah. You worked at LinkedIn, didn't you?
No, well, no, I didn't. I got hired at LinkedIn, but I did not work at LinkedIn. Did I tell you the story?
Yes.
they
Yeah.
they like rescinded my job offer. Follows and likes minus interaction. There we go. Sometimes I see
People don't interact now.
they just
Um,
post. Well, they do, man. Like when I see people get like a oh, I got promoted, then I jump in there and be like, dude, that's awesome. You know, I think LinkedIn could be awesome. It is corny as hell, and
no.
it's plagued by like
No, it's the same.
recruiters.
It's plagued by the same thing that we were talking about in the first episode that we did about the trying to appeal to the
shitification.
masses,
Yeah.
right? So like for Facebook to be uber successful, your aunt has to be on it, your grandma, your aunt's friends and grandmas, and then everybody says this is lame. It's our aunts and grandmas are on it, so they leave.
That's
and
what happened at Tinder. Your grandma got on it.
My grandma's dead.
Tinder sucks now. Oh, fuck.
Real nice, Travis. Real nice.
Then she could take her Tinder profile down, bro. I keep swiping right on it and never get an answer.
Yeah. Still active.
Oh my god.
I just heard a buzzing. I think your microphone.
Oh,
that thing that happened last time, it just happened again right now.
Yes, I need to.
Moving around.
I've been using this, and
okay.
If I'm too loud, maybe it clips. Sorry.
So I interrupted you. You got a job at LinkedIn, and then
I'll tell you the
said,
story.
Actually, we don't want you to work here.
Yes, yeah, because I went through the whole interview process at LinkedIn. You know, I got contacted by the recruiter. I came in, did the interviews. I did their design challenge.
How did they contact you?
Oh, the recruiter.
By email or on LinkedIn? I'm serious.
Showed up at the door.
Yeah, how did they contact you?
I think it was email.
So LinkedIn,
or maybe
they could have.
Maybe LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Maybe LinkedIn. They have something called InMail. I don't know. I don't actually recall, but I do remember going
joking,
in.
But it would be funny if they.
Yeah.
Didn't use their own service.
No, they were swiping on Tinder. That's how they found me.
Mm-hmm. That's how they know my grandma. Yeah. So you got hired there.
Your grandma on Tinder. Due to the idea of she's dead, so your profile hasn't been taken down, and I'm swiping on it, waiting for her to get a match.
Yeah, what happens to dead people on Tinder?
Oh, damn.
You know?
I have no idea, bro. Yeah, that's true.
Does your profile just stay swiped forever?
Just it's still floating around. I wonder how many deads there are on Tinder. You know?
I don't know.
Got their hottie pictures up there. They're actually a corpse. You're ooh, that's good for me.
That's another reason I'm glad I don't use that. If I were to die, I don't want my Tinder thing floating around there forever.
Oh, wow.
Although I think if you've been on it once, they have all your shit.
Maybe. I don't know.
Forever. Yeah.
I don't know how it works. Anyway.
You can't delete accounts anymore. You can't delete your data anymore.
Yeah, you're forever horned up on Tinder, even if you're under the ground.
Yeah.
Where was I? Okay, so yeah, they contacted me. I came in. I did the interviews. I did the design challenge. I even remember the thing that I made, and
They made you do a design challenge.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and what did you make?
I made this like a career planner. So it was like
Was it
here's your
UI stuff?
yeah, it was UX and
Okay.
UI design,
Yeah.
and so I designed this kind of thing that was like based on what their and I redesigned their InMail, which is like their product for recruiters.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did a challenge where I made like a career planner for people and like said like this is what I'm hoping to get and this is what I'm interested in, but I'm not there yet. And so that I don't know, I thought it was all right, but
Design challenge is a form of
slavery, ooh,
abuse,
abuse.
and it's also
If they
how
use it,
no, it's how bad middle managers hire people who do a thing that they themselves don't do. Because a good designer will say, "Do you have a portfolio?"
mm-hmm.
And that's it. They'll look at your work. A
Yeah.
design challenge, getting like little designers, especially if you're not a junior designer at that level, at the level that you were at that point, to make you do a design challenge is
I was
insane.
mid, I think, but yeah, I totally get
You
what
had
you're
a
saying.
portfolio, right?
Yeah, I think the proper way to do that is to take a look at their portfolio, talk to them as a person, just figure out where they're at, and then like maybe even give them a contract.
Yeah, hire them. Look at their job. Look at their
Yeah.
work. If you like their work, try them out. Hire them on a temporary basis. But making
Yeah.
people work for free for like any amount of time so you can be like, do I like this or not? Like, if that person is a professional, then they already have work you can look at.
Yeah.
And if they don't already have work that you can look at, then you shouldn't be wondering, it's so easy. Like, so
Maybe they're
many
trying to get
companies
around.
fail at the hiring process, and it becomes a bloated piece of infrastructure for their company of hiring bad people, onboarding them, and not hiring the good people because the person hiring doesn't know how to, tell. If you can't tell by looking at someone's existing work, or you can't make a decision based on the fact that they don't have anything to present, then something's wrong there, where you have to give someone a design challenge. And it's such a slow, drawn out, like the resources a company pours into, especially the size of LinkedIn, if they're doing that kind of shit. Imagine the money that they're losing during the hiring process and how many bad people they've paid to onboard, they've had to offboard, and then they've
Hiring is
paid them,
expensive, sure.
Yeah, you can optimize hiring if you just hire good people. And when it comes to something like that, like design and development, show me the work. That's the only question you have to ask. Show me your work.
Yeah.
If there's anything outside of that, it kind of negates the person's potential for being hired if they don't have work to show, right?
So I did the challenge. So back to so I did that, and then it was good. They liked it. I even remember the last interviewer. Shout out to John. I still know John. He's the last interviewer. He came in and sat down, and he's like, you got the job, and he didn't even interview me. He was just like, so what do you want to talk about? Like we just kind of chilled, and he was a cool guy. And funny enough, after I joined Google, I was walking down the hall, just whatever, the rows of desks, and I passed John. I go, John? And he was like, oh, hey, you. And I was like, yeah, me, Travis. He's like, yeah, I remember at LinkedIn. I was like, yeah. So yeah, anyway, I did.
Oh, but this was at Google later.
He left. He worked at LinkedIn. That's where I met him.
Yeah.
And later on, after I joined Google, he was already at Google. So he left LinkedIn and went to Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And when I left Google search and went to YouTube, John was there.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's a cool guy.
Sounds like you got yourself a follow.
And I'm kind of like following him, like actually, because he goes, yeah. He's a great guy. He's always given me good advice. He's such a good guy. Anyway.
But why did they rescind the offer?
They rescinded the offer because I was being.
And was it John that rescinded the offer?
No.
When
John's
you saw
cool.
him, did you give him the stink eye?
It was okay. So what happened was like they gave me the offer. I signed the offer, and then they said, okay, here, can you like fill out this form to tell us like what kind of things you need, like mostly just like your computer. Do you need a screen? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and this is back in the day, like I had never, ever owned a laptop. And I was like, I just want an iMac. Like, I don't want to take a computer with me home. I don't want to like take it to a conference room. And I've never really worked at a big company either. I'd only done startups and small agencies. And so like having a desk where your computer is, and then leaving and going and sitting at a meeting maybe, and coming back to your workstation, that was like what I knew.
That's normal. Yeah.
That's felt good to me. And so,
wait, so what was it like there if it wasn't that?
well, they wanted to give me a laptop, and I was just like, I want a desktop. I want like an iMac, you know, kind of thing. And then,
Yeah. Oh,
and
but
then,
yeah, they probably cattle everyone in.
well, they
It's like
just
a cattle
didn't have
rally.
that as an option or something. Yeah, you know, and I was telling them what I wanted, and I was just being a little persistent about it, and I guess
Yeah.
being a little entitled, you know, I don't know, for whatever it was. And then after a few back and forths, the hiring manager goes, I don't think this is a good fit.
That's so crazy, dude.
It was really
To
shocking.
hire a
I
designer
was so
and be like,
surprised.
hey, what do you need to get the job done? And we'll get it for you. And then you
Yeah.
go, actually, I just need an iMac. And they go, no. So again,
It was
they're
weird,
the
yeah.
assholes. I'm on your side this whole time, buddy.
I'm still a little confused by it,
I think
but
design
mostly
challenges are evil.
okay.
I think it's a bad way to hire. I think it's
Yeah.
abusive to the people. You know how many people did that, spent time on it, and didn't get hired? When
That's true.
they could have just been asked if they have a portfolio or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Portfolios
then-
are hard to do though, man.
And then they ask what you need. They hire a professional designer. And they say, what do you need to get your job done?
Yeah.
And you let them know. You say, hey, I don't need anything fancy. I just need just iMac.
I just need an
And
iMac.
they press back and rescind the offer. That's insane to me.
Yeah. Well, I think the danger in the design challenge is if they profit off of it. And
you know what?
in this case,
Sure.
I don't think they did. I don't
Here's
think
the
they
thing.
used, like Dave says, you spent time showcasing your skills, and then for them to steal it. I don't think they took the
Is
design.
the danger?
But maybe they were.
Do you know that at one point there was lead in everything? There was lead in the paint, lead in the pipes, lead in the gas, and most
Yeah,
people
I don't know why.
had lead in the brain. Right? for real, like there's statistics that show like criminality going down when they stopped putting lead in everything, and a steep rise in it. Like there's actually
Lead poisoning
correlations
makes you-
to societal behavior based on lead. Now, do you think that the lead was bad because people were profiting off of it?
I don't understand the question. What? No, I think the lead was bad because it poisoned you.
It had other, yeah, exactly. It was bad because it poisoned you. And in this situation, you said you think it's bad if they give you a design challenge, if they profit off of it. I'm saying that's bad. That makes them pieces of shit. But
Yeah.
it's bad in and of itself. It's a poison in and of itself, both for the business doing it and for the designers doing it.
Because it just to
It's
take
like
your
lead in our
metaphor,
gasoline,
like
Travis.
yeah, it poisons the industry and creates this kind of like culture where designers have to kind of like hustle.
It's busy work for middle managers. It wastes everybody's time.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Wasted your time.
Well, I had fun, and I met John.
Next time I see him, I'm going to give him the stink eye.
No, it wasn't John's fault. John was dope.
I know, I'm joking.
Super dope. Yeah. So
I'm opposed. Anybody in the chat here? Anybody had to do a design challenge? Now, a programming challenge, I'm also opposed to that for the most part.
Dave said it ass.
It ass, yeah, it is. It is ass, Dave. It ass indeed. It was John. See, we're gonna get that guy.
John's not a part of the
We're
problem.
gonna dox him.
John is homie. Okay.
John is asshole. Okay.
No. I'm gonna bring him on just so you have to look him in the eye.
I will. I'll give him the stink eye. Why don't you hire my friend Travis? No, but
They
it all
did
worked
hire
out
me.
in the end.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like that would have been a horrible place to work. And when I said it, like, like factory farming, how they just have them all crammed together, and it's kind of like how like American prisons are. It's just, I feel like there's a lot of corporate places, like the LinkedIn office is probably like that, which is why you couldn't have a dedicated workstation. They just cram everybody in, try to optime space.
It's good to have cynical friends. It really is.
It just hangs out of a box like those baby cows that live in the box their whole life.
Doing design like through the gate.
Yeah, that's how I think it is at LinkedIn. Yeah.
Is my mic
Tender
buzzing?
meat though. Good beef coming out of that place.
Out of LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Prime cuts, bro.
Prime cuts, the way they treat those cows, yeah. I'm opposed to the whole corporate, you know.
I've been
I
in it
don't
for a
understand how
while.
we find ourselves if you zoom out of time and
Yeah.
space and you look at this little marble,
Okay.
special little marble that we got,
We're zooming out.
and
Yeah.
somehow we decided that the day starts at 7 a.m. Right? I get it when you got to rise with the sun, but with the working world, the modern luxuries and comforts
Yeah.
that we have, who decided the day starts so early?
Most people I work don't start at 7 a.m.
Yeah, what's the average start time there?
Well, I haven't. So I'm 3 hours ahead of everybody, and my earliest meetings are like 6 a.m. So that means that they're starting at 9.
For you?
Well,
Oh, no,
I'm
for
3 hours
them, 'cause
ahead of
you're
everybody,
ahead,
and
right,
so if
right.
I'm on their
So you're
schedule,
starting at 6.
I'm starting at 6 because I got my head in the thing.
Yeah.
That's me right now for
Yes.
sure. For sure. I got my head in the stall.
Yeah.
I'm
They're
plugged
making a
in.
tender
Plugged
wagyu
into
out
like
of
all
you.
these nodes on my
They're making
brain.
a good cut of wagyu.
That's true. That's true. But
But
the rest of them are
ultimately,
starting at 9 a.m. And like it's pretty common for like to have like a few homies
Yeah.
just roll in at 11, a.m.
yeah,
Mhm.
good. Good on
Yeah.
them.
Roll in at 11
Taking
a.m.,
back the
eat
power
some
from the
lunch,
man.
work for a few hours, then go home.
That's how it should be. That's how life should be.
I agree. I agree
I
with
mean, this
that.
thing's not going to be around here very long, and none of us are
This thing,
around very
what's the
long.
thing?
This planet,
The planet
society,
itself?
life, reality, everything. Yeah,
Okay.
everything ends eventually, right? And as far as you're concerned,
Yeah.
it happens like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've somehow put ourselves in the position where we are all turning ourselves into wagyu beef for corporate overlords,
Prime
and somehow
cuts.
the politicians and lawyers run the world, and not the artists.
That's true.
Where did we go wrong as a society?
Well, we
Travis?
gave up our
Let's
power
really
because
get
we were
into
just
it.
in our bedroom doing art instead of learning how to speak publicly,
Yeah,
Yeah, the
how
businessmen,
to argue.
politicians, and lawyers are the loudest people, and so they have the power. And where the artists are just like, we want to make something. Yeah. I'm not very political, but I do see
Is
it.
that political? I think that's just commentary on general emergent structures of society.
Yeah.
I think
that's what politics
are
are.
one of those things. Politics
Yeah.
are one of those things. But zooming out, all of our behavior societally is that, right? And it
Yeah.
reverberates those dynamics. Even doomsday scenario. No, I
Wagyu
think
beef.
it's positive.
It's positive that we're all Wagyu beef? Or it's positive that it all ends? What's positive?
I think it's positive that you can structure a society that gets big enough where people do have the opportunity to be cattle, right? To keep the whole thing moving forward, right? I think that's a positive thing. But there's like tipping points when it comes to individual levels of satisfaction and fulfillment, right? And that's kind of
my social media feed, which is mostly YouTube, is full of this now. People like are really upset with inflation, and people upset with like not being able to purchase homes. Upset with the price of fast food. That's kind of trending a lot lately. That's pretty wild.
Fast food gone through the roof.
Well, what happened?
Damn, I sold my shares in McDonald's.
Yeah, well, in California, they passed a law where I guess it's the minimum wage of fast food workers.
Yeah.
They didn't raise the minimum wage. They rose the minimum wage of fast food workers, which is, I don't understand that, but
okay, so only
and that's translating
minimum wage working in fast food.
They rose the minimum wage.
So if you work at like the mall
workers.
At a Gap, you're not getting a raise.
Not a Gap. Nope. That's
but if you work at Carl's Jr., you're rolling in it.
And you're rolling, yeah. And I heard that there was a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard there was a problem like trying to keep lunch ladies employed because they're like I can go work at Wendy's and make more than being in the school helping kids get nutritions. Yeah. Helping raise the young cattle.
And people are complaining that the fast food workers are getting paid more.
Some are complaining that way, but
that,
mostly
or are they complaining that the prices of fast food went up
mostly
as a result of that.
Mostly that, yeah. But I mean that's just like an interesting side note and maybe like an indicator of where things are going. But I think like overall the theme is that like life is expensive now and way more than it used to be.
Yeah,
relatively, right? Like our parents, like the
relative nature of value is very interesting.
Okay.
and like how things become more expensive, but a rock costs the same as a rock and has the same worth that it had 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of capitalism, that you have to keep everything going up and to the right for it to make sense, for it to be
Well,
worthwhile. And
I
so
think it's
like,
more of a nature of a limitless supply of fiat. So if you say, oh, sure, we're taking 30-40% of our people's money and putting it in our pockets and not letting it get to where it needs to go, right?
Yeah.
We need more money. We have wars. We got to get more money. We're going to actually print more money. So we're going to print $50 billion, and it's going to drive the value of everyone else's dollars down, including mine. But I'm going to take like 20 of this billion and redistribute it to me and my friends and give out defense contracts and all of this. So even though the value of everybody's money goes down, I'm stacking more paper.
That's it.
And it creates this separation between classes. And I mean, we're seeing that emerge now. It's wild. And ultimately, that's what's causing inflation. That's what's causing the value. It's not that necessarily people think milk is worth more. It's that the individual dollars are worth less because there's more in circulating supply, right? Isn't that really what drives it?
Yeah. So the people that are in charge of that are willing to flood the market with more fiat to devalue it on an individual. Like the dollar itself gets lower valued, but they are scraping more off the top than they have before, so it's worth it to them. That's
so they're not losing, and it's creating a bigger and bigger gap between normal people and those people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't you play some music for us? This is bumming me out.
Is it bumming you out?
Because like I'm in it. I feel overworked and underpaid, and and like I resonate when these people show up and they're like, "Oh, I can't buy a house. I never will." And I'm like, me too. Yeah, I get it. So
that was never a desire of mine,
to own a house.
I never, because growing up,
renting is
the way I grew up. Like my parents
renting
tried
is
to own houses, but then like lost them.
Yeah,
I learned pretty quickly that when most people buy a house, they don't pay cash outright. They buy it and then rent it from the bank. So you're renting it from the bank and from the government, and you can lose it at any moment. And that's what happened in the 2008 housing market crash. Like it's not a stable thing because the true ownership of land doesn't actually exist, even though I think it's supposed to be a constitutional right in the United States. I think there's something about owning land in the Constitution, but nobody owns shit really anymore.
No.
And I think, so it's like what's, okay, again, maybe I'm being cynical, but
you are, yes.
I think and even right?
even if you own it, you have to get a permit to like build on it, or
you still have to pay taxes on the land.
You still have to pay taxes on the land you own,
and if somebody finds something valuable under that land, they'll take it from you somehow. Whether
they'll drink your milkshake
or gas, they will drink your milkshake. Yeah.
That's right.
So
play us some music, damn it.
These people who can't get a house, they should actually be happy about that.
That's me.
Yeah, you should be happy because you're like, okay, I don't have. That's a thing I don't have to worry about now because I was never gonna. You never truly own it anyway, so I don't have to worry about not owning one.
A few levels, yeah. Never, like we lost our first house in Vegas, but after that we haven't owned, and because it really soured me, the whole process of losing it. That was during the 2008 crash, and like exactly then. So that it really soured me on buying a house. That was never my goal, and even though we rented this one place for like 10 years, like we didn't ever own it. We just paid rent on it. But there are some benefits to that. Like how easy was it to pick up and move? It made us a lot more, nimble in terms of like when we were ready to go, just drop off the keys and go to a new place, and that's how we got out here where we're at now. Is just that we were, we didn't have these assets, which can be liabilities a lot of the time.
Yeah, in the words of our good friend Tyler Durden, the things you own end up owning you, right?
Ooh. Yes.
But yeah, I think the real problem is people overextend themselves, right? And unless you can pay cash for a house, you can pay the full price, and you still have a bunch of money saved over to renovate it and survive, then you shouldn't be buying a house.
Right.
That's the way it is. and you got a bunch of people that want to buy. Oh, I wish I could buy a house. Why? They have this fantasy of just owning a house. What do you think's gonna happen there? You're gonna flip it?
I'm gonna flip it. Yeah,
You
I don't know.
may,
Yeah,
maybe,
well,
but
you
it's
know
a
who
hassle.
owns
You
all the
can't live
houses
in
right
it.
now is like
You gotta,
BlackRock and Vanguard.
yeah,
I would rather have, I would rather have just like holistically individuals owning homes and like living in neighborhoods and kind of like having a stake in the community rather than having Vanguard and BlackRock own the whole neighborhood and then everybody in it feeling like a visitor. That there are a lot of downsides to being like an ever renter. Like I've spent the last 18 years as a renter, and it's just like why would I want to paint the wall? Why would I want to make myself feel like I own this if like next year they're going to raise the rent so much that I have to go find a new place, which has happened a number of times to me. I've been like forced out because of like raising the rent. And actually,
again, these are emergent structures in the way that we do business with each other, but there's got to be another way of doing things, right? Rather than just owning a house outright or renting it where they can raise the price. Like, what was it called in New York? Like rent control?
Rent control.
I don't really know what that is, but I think like you can
guarantee
that your rent stays at a certain price.
Yeah.
For like the term of your contract. Like that should kind of be built into those types of agreements where they can't raise your price if you're renting.
Yeah. I think raising it within a reasonable amount is reasonable by definition, like because like things do get more expensive, and that makes sense.
And there's maintenance, like a certain percent every year, but there should be a cap on that so people know what to expect. Right?
Yeah. But truth is, like if I wanted to go back to California, I don't think I could. I don't think like I can afford to go live in the house that I used to live in. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe not, but there's plenty of poor people that live in California. I'm sure you'd be fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's people much poorer than you who live there.
I know. And dude, here's a wild thought, that like somebody else will live in your house after you're done, and they will not know you. They won't know your story.
Us that were talking about that last time,
Yeah, it was an Alan Watts quote. It is still tripping me out. Like a few weeks later, I'm like, yes, somebody else, like this little spot right here I'm in with the background and the webcam. Like I'm here every day for like 12 hours. Like I'm literally tied to this desk, and this is like my whole universe. It's sad in a lot of ways, but like the next person who lives here, this will be their kid's bedroom. It'll be a sewing room. It'll be something else, and
then somebody else's, and eventually it won't even exist. It'll be, it could be a barren wasteland or some corporate paradise. Who knows what the future holds, Travis?
It's bizarro, man.
That's bizarre to you?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
Impermanence of space?
Sometimes I feel like the impermanence is super liberating. Like, right, when you realize that it is just temporary, kind of like, you can be like, oh, that means being present is the only thing of value. And like, that's a really good thought, and a strong thought, and like an invigorating thought. But at the same time, like,
it's exhausting.
Well,
because then you're in charge, and it's like, oh fuck, now I got to do stuff. I'm in charge, actually. Ultimately, if I want to go live in California, I can. If I wanted to, if I wanted to quit my job and do whatever I can, if I really wanted to, if I wanted to do X,
it's the same vibe when I stopped being religious. You realize that you're in control, and exhausting is a good word for that. Because if
religion is comforting.
Because you can give control to something else. You're like, oh, it was meant to be, or it wasn't meant to be, or it's the plan of something else. But when you're like totally in charge, and you are responsible for every choice you make, and for the choices you don't make, then it's tiring. It's heavy.
But here's the thing: the knowledge that none of it matters. It's all impermanent.
Yeah.
Someone's going to live in your house, and eventually they'll be dead, and the house will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that make it all feel better?
In a way, it does sometimes,
because it really it's absurd. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. So you don't have to be so serious about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's easy for me to say now because I'm not going through anything traumatic currently.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I was telling, we were talking to my son this morning, and I was just like, you have to be the main character, bro. You have to like be, there's a lot of stories going on, but in your story, you can't be a side character to other people's narratives and desires and machinations, right? You have to like, and he's like, get, pushing against that. He's like, why do you want to be a main character? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, a main character is somebody who is actively making choices for themselves. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about somebody who thinks that they are self-important, more important than the other person. No, I'm saying somebody who takes responsibility for their life and is making active decisions and going after the things they want. And then we're also talking about this idea of cousins. So he said in his dream, he showed up to his cousin's house, and his cousin had other cousins there. And I was like, oh, did you fight? And he was like, well, the other cousin, they were younger. And I was like, good. he was like, well, he came over and kicked me, and I didn't know why. And I was like, well, what'd you do? And I was like, I kicked him back, and I sweated him. Like I told him, don't do that or whatever, And I was like, this is a universal principle of truth, that you don't want to be the other cousin. So if you meet a cousin of your cousin, you have to take him out. You have to like really go for the throat. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, just imagine
I'm a little
it.
lost here too.
What's your take on other cousins? If you're an other cousin, you got to take, you don't want to be the other cousin. You want to be the cousin and not the other cousin. So you have to like.
But you wouldn't rather be the person who they're cousins of, the dreamer?
Sometimes you're the person.
Everyday FX says the thing with things not mattering, though, is why would it matter to discuss its own mattering? Feels rather pointless. But I think it does matter to remind us. We often forget that nothing matters really that much.
Yeah, those two. Go ahead.
Except for what we choose matters, right? I think that's ultimately where the liberation comes from, right? It's in an absurd infinity. Where these little sparks of light that get to have things matter to them, right? And frankly, that's the only place where anything can matter.
Yeah,
is where we're experiencing things, and we get caught up in our shit. We get caught up thinking everything matters so much, and it's nice to be reminded that like most of it doesn't, and you get to choose what does. And it's like, oh, and a lot of times you look around and you're like, actually, I already have what matters. I got my family, right? If you're lucky enough to have, people who love you, right? I'm sure there's people who don't have a family that love them, and
that's
but
sad.
We're gonna have to find stuff for them to be happy about too. Or they can just say that doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter that they don't have a family that loves them.
Right. What does matter is your perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're here you're taking the ride, and you can enjoy it or you could not. And so one of the tactics of enjoying it is to realize how temporary it all is and what really matters to you. So saying that nothing matters is a declaration that your perspective is in charge and not the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
The atoms in his thumb compel
and the atoms
themselves.
in your thumbs are in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think? We're an hour in. I think that's a pretty good. Do
you want me to play you a song?
Good place to leave it. Yeah, play me a song.
Here, I'll pull up something from my YouTube little music boxes, and it talks about. It'll take me a second to find it. Let me see here. La 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 la. But then I want you to play a song because your stuff is really good right now. Mm-mm-mm.
I can play a sneak preview world premiere of a song and video that I'm working on and have not published yet.
Ooh, really?
To the 10 people in the chat and you, yeah.
Okay. So I got to turn it down on YouTube because these audios do come in pretty hot. Okay. And I'll be sharing momentarily. Yo, okay. All right, here I'm going to play. Oh, wait.
Good morning, Travis. At least the layer that we know as Travis, whoever and whatever you are? Because that's a good question. Who are we? Or what are we? What are you? What are you? You know, if we know ourselves as Chaz and Travis, but if we take a little bit of a closer look, we become skin, cell, go a little deeper with molecules. And if you keep zooming in effectively in objective science, eventually you just get kind of empty space. So it kind of depends on what lens you're looking through or what layer you're looking at. And if you zoom out, our bodies turn into families, a city, a country, a continent, a planet, a galaxy. Like an onion, we have many layers. And we can't exist without all of these layers. We can't breathe without our lung, without the molecules and cells that make up those lungs. We can't breathe without the atmosphere of the planet, which is without the galaxies, without the universe. So it's all one big, many-layered system. And the line gets blurry between what is the self. The self.
Dude, when I watched me perform this stuff back in the day, I'm just like mesmerized by.
Sick, dude. I miss those videos.
Yeah.
So what are we? Who am I?
Especially these chops right here.
If you observe something in front of you right now, you can look at it, and it's an object. It's a thing with color, shape, size, attributes, whatever. And then you can look at your shoe. Same thing, your shoe. You can observe the shape, the color of that. You can even look at your knee and see that that is a thing. But what happens when you turn that observation and look inward at the thing that is observed? What do you see? Does it have a size? Does it have a shape or a color? When you look inside, I see space, an expanse, limitless space. What does that say? When we look inside and see this space. Who are we? We are space.
Chaz.
Who is that speaking?
My friend Chaz. He just left me these voicemails, and so I chopped them into this song.
Okay.
When other people see
And
it,
are all of those bracelets regulation or
size, color, a name,
regulation bracelets?
attribute.
Yeah, so I was getting into
Other people
getting into
doing these
bracelets?
beat videos.
I love these videos, man. I love this.
No, Salem.
They can't.
This is my friend Chaz. This is a good friend.
Stops.
And
And
yeah, the bracelets were because like I wasn't showing my face ever in those videos, and I was like, I need some flair.
You're like, hey, my
the most
bracelets are a face.
self.
That's right.
I like
But
that.
also, like, I would wear
makes
bracelets a
sense.
lot, like
what other people
going
see. Other
around.
people
But
see
since the
individual
pandemic,
layers
I'm working at home, like
that
I'm
onion.
like blank
They
wrists.
see
I need to bring them back.
the skin or
But when I go places, I do put on a bracelet. I like them.
Really?
Mhm.
That's very
I'm a bracelet boy.
or
Mhm.
or a
So you got to
company
accessorize.
That's
or
it.
whatever.
Mhm.
But isn't it interesting that
I do a watch.
if you go
That's a
deep enough,
bracelet?
if you go
What's
deep
that?
enough, we're
It's a bracelet.
It's a type of a bracelet. It's a functional bracelet.
Yeah. All bracelets are functional.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just gonna lay down. I guess.
Oh, wow, that's only halfway through. How long is that video?
Yeah.
Well, like the rest of it is just
Here's
me
what-
talking
here's
here.
what-
Okay, wait. Let's play it. I want to hear some.
You want to hear me narrating it?
I
a
want to hear what you're saying.
404 Video is placed ever so, and then you want to do an outro discussion, and you've given away your table to your son, who needed it for school because it's coronavirus season. We're all stuck indoors. We're doing our part.
Doing
I
our
wanted to lay
part.
next to the 404 at least on the
Are
floor,
you wearing a wig?
cuddled up nicely.
No, it's a
Because-
beanie and
What is
headphones.
on your head?
Because I want to tell the story of this song, because I think it's a rather
It's
good
just
one.
a beanie and
I
headphones.
think it makes the
Okay.
message, the content of the song even more meaningful.
This was cold. This was in the garage.
Try to get this
You know,
microphone
there's no
close.
insulation.
Okay.
It's like in the middle of
Mostly
winter
always.
during the pandemic.
This was during the
This is
pandemic.
worst.
Yeah.
This is the worst idea.
Is this the
Okay,
what's the
here's
last
story.
music
So
boxes
the voice-
video that you made? How long ago?
The most recent,
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Travis, and
2 years.
I had to move you over here so I can see the screen better.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
2022. The pandemic at this point was 4 years ago. Is when it started. 2020.
Yeah, this one wasn't during the pandemic.
I know, but I'm saying like it's already been 4 years.
Oh, just
Doesn't
generally.
it kind of seem like it just ended, or like it was just going on, or is it still kind of going on? The other day, hi Max, it's very nice to see Travis again. Many years ago, I wanted to hire him. Wait, is this John?
John?
He rejected to have my project. Oh, no, this isn't John. I thought this was the infamous John. This is Emradi. Says that you rejected him, Travis.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, spicy.
Didn't mean to. Sorry.
This episode might go longer. We might do some daytime
what-
talk show stuff here.
Describe the project, Emradi. I don't exactly recall. But you were talking about the pandemic and how long ago it was.
Yeah, just the fact, doesn't it seem not that long ago?
It does, yeah.
Like
it
we're still in
seems-
it, kind of? Or
Well, I think
like the world's still kind of coming out of it, or still getting over it?
I think that is true. We have white beard. Yeah, my beard. In the early DevTips videos, I would look at it and I look totally different. Like I have a black beard. Now I'm all grayed up.
No, the white's dope. It's distinguished.
Thanks.
Mhm.
But my pattern of it's like dark here and it kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
That line right there, it bothers me. I wish it was just all grayed up.
Really? No, it looks cool. You got like cool biker handlebar things, but also a beard.
But also a beard.
You're pulling off two facial hairstyles at once.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
the pandemic is such a landmark in our memory because like
Mhm.
everything changed at that point.
Mhm.
And my life has not been the same since. So I never went back to the office. I moved house. So I went to different, I went to different locations and had to like kind of, restart my whole social circles, had to restart my life in a lot of different ways. And so that's kind of like why it's just the pandemic is just this huge bookmark in my own memory.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's why it seems, oh, that was only 4 years ago,
Yeah.
or that was as recent as 4 years ago, depending on the context.
But the last music boxes thing that you published was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago, yeah. And
And why? Why haven't you? Because that all of that was so dope.
thank you, sir.
What made you lose interests, or what drove your interest more?
I'll tell
'Cause
you.
Usually, it's something you just became more interested in other stuff. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. So I think that the reason why is website development and they learned a lot from Travis. Thank you for the
Nice.
context. That was so. I guess.
M. Ratty.
Yeah.
What was it? It wasn't that the name of the cop from Boardwalk Empire
Oh, I never saw that.
that Michael Shannon played? I'm M. Ratty.
Oh, I like Michael
Is
Shannon.
that his name? M. Ratty. Yeah.
General Zod.
He was also General Zod. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason that I haven't posted videos on that music channel in a long time is because as a result of my moving around and a lot of things, like I needed to make more income. And so I've been doing like freelance work and stuff like that, which has taken up my time. So yeah, I think the pandemic did change a lot of things for me. Financial stability was one of them. And I think for a lot of people, right, like the aftershocks of the pandemic is like, you know, the Fed raising the interest rates and like all of this type of financial stuff, housing markets becoming unaffordable. That kind of is like post-pandemic outcomes, kind of what we were talking about earlier. And the result in my personal life is that I have less free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is it all going?
I'm working for just doing client work and stuff. It's told you I'm tied to this desk like 12 hours a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just get tired, you know? Want.
Yeah. Well, where's it all going? I mean, like, not you personally, but like the world. Where's the world going?
Where's
what
the
ends?
No idea, bro.
Are we plummeting through space towards?
Yeah. Well, I think our current, like, you know, instantiation of things is just like, it's realized. Well, I don't know. I see a lot of themes when we talk about generational perspectives of this, of like the world. And a lot of people are saying that like,
I mean, talking to your kids about it.
No, not, I mean, sometimes talking to my kids, but like also on social media, people are saying like that, because Gen Z right now is like becoming more influential in the workforce. They're aging into the 20s now, and they're kind of becoming more saturated in the workforce. Yeah. And there's a lot of these themes like quiet quitting and laying down, and
the next generation don't give a fuck. I like it. I'm excited to see where the world's going.
I know.
Because they're being raised in a time where they're like learning to just not give a fuck.
Yes.
And that I think is a great.
Or maybe give their fucks to different things.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
To decide and which what I think matters to them, instead of think what matters is what is opposed upon them.
Yeah. And so I think that's a really interesting thread about like where are things going. I think that like a reorganizing of importance might be on the horizon, where collectively we think that other things are important. And it's sad because like we've just rolled over on so many topics and issues politically, like where we're just getting taken advantage of by large corporations and politicians. But the younger generation is taking like a stance of just like, I'm not into that. I don't care about that. I'm not going to give you my dollar to that, which I think will be probably the catalyst of biggest change, is when the generation decides where they put their money and it's not in the same places that previous generations have felt compelled to do so. Yeah,
it's going to change the economic structure of the future, I hope.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good thing.
But I'm not really. Earlier I was saying I'm not into LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn is lame. I'm also not on TikTok, so I don't know what the old generation's doing or what the new generation's doing. I'm just I'm not in touch because I'm not on either of those platforms.
I'm in touch. I have 3 touch points. The first touch point is I have kids. So I'm like always talking to them, talking to their friends, and just kind of filling it out. I think that as far as that touch point, my biggest hope is like the new generation is hilarious. They're so funny.
As long as it's funny is really all that matters. Yeah.
I think that's one of the big
shit, or as long as it's hilarious is really.
I think both of those things are true. It's going to shit and it's going to be hilarious. The new generation is so funny, and because like they have this like checked out take on everything, like they know it's going to shit, and they're just like, well, let's just tell some jokes on the way down. Like
they're all black-pilled.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good.
Other touch point is social media. So I watch a lot of YouTube, and I just get this stuff a lot. So that's how I get in touch with the ideas of the world. And then the other one is a kind of a fun touch point, is that at Google and YouTube, we do like a lot of research. You know, we're always researching our markets, passing around these decks about like, what does Gen Z care about? What does Gen A care about? And just understanding the upcoming markets. And that really helps me keep kind of in touch, you know, just to understand what's going on. Three touch points. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, YouTube and Instagram are my main sources of like getting a quick overview of like what's happening in the world outside of my house.
That's interesting that like it can be so different. Yeah, right? Like if you think about your whole lived experience,
it has nothing to do with anything that's on.
It mostly doesn't.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how much mind share we give to like online platforms and like your stream and what people are saying, what's going on politically, what's going on in the media, what's going on in pop culture. But like how much of it is in your house? Like very, very, very little. And yet so much of your mind is given to that stuff. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have a family with different age groups, like when your kids are older, it's probably, you're going to have some difficult conversations and be exposed to things in the house, right? Like
exposed to things in the house. Oh, like,
well, you know, when kids go through the rebellious teenager phase, you know,
we're
you're going to have a lot
rebellion.
more exposure to it than me because I don't have kids.
True. So. That's true. We kind of encourage rebellion. We facilitate it. So it's like done safely, but also it's permitted. So it's not actually rebellion, which is the greatest form of suppression.
Yeah.
Like
well, you know what Lao Tzu
says? It's like Brave New World.
In the Tao Te Ching, he says, if you want to control your cattle, you give them a large field for them to graze in.
There you go. Yeah.
That's the ultimate form of control is what you're exercising there.
Well, I was raised in like that farming cattle trough metaphor, right? Like that's the level of control that I was kind of raised in. So my rebellion felt very big and it felt very catastrophic. I was telling my son,
what was the most rebellious thing that you did at that rebellious age? Because I feel like you were more rebellious later when you left the church.
Yeah,
but by then you were in your 30s, I think, right?
I was like 35 when I left organized religion. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I did some things that were, I would say like my most rebellious thing I did when I was in my youth was just to be involved with punk rock. And also my group of friends lit a car on fire once, but that was different.
Also, when you killed a guy.
But we don't talk about that much. I'll be forever grateful to you, Travis, for helping me get a developer job like 8 years ago. You're the man. Sending my best wishes from Poland. Hey, Poland, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. That's really, really sweet.
Lucas.
I love the L. I didn't know how to pronounce that, so I was like, oh, yeah, but you're right. It's just Lucas, right? That's easy to pronounce.
I would imagine it's the Polish version of that name. Lucas. Tell us if we're pronouncing your name properly.
Yeah, but I like the L. Like it looks
cool.
I don't know. I don't even know why.
Logo.
Oh, yeah. I see. Cool.
I don't know if that. I think that's actually like. I don't know if that's why he did.
But I think like the most rebellious thing, going back to your question, was like just to be involved in punk rock, because punk rock back at that time was like do it yourself. It was like self-reliance, and a lot of it was like learning how to be. Yeah, like how to move the ball forward, be in charge of your own destiny, have an opinion, and learning how to speak it and support other people, right? Like it's very community driven, which it's like so different today. Like
but
it's more of an aesthetic.
But you were still in the church and pretty committed to the church during this time.
Yes, but I aligned a lot with a branch of punk rock, which was called straight edge. So it allowed me to kind of
X's on the hands.
Oh yeah, X's on the hands was cool.
The hardcore straight edge guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I took my daughter to Thrice.
You were one of those guys?
I was, yeah. I took my daughter to Thrice the other month and they drew X's on our hands and I was like, yeah, like it was like so cool. But the young generation didn't understand like what a rebellious statement that was, right? Because like it was a revolutionary and rebellious statement to do that, because the history of that is that the punk rockers wanted to play shows in bars and stuff, but they had alcohol. Yeah. And so the bouncers would draw X's on their hands to say like they can't be served at the bar. And so that became a symbol of self-determinism, that they're like, we don't want that. That's not why we're here. We're here for other reasons, for our own reasons. Where like the culture was very much, playing rock and roll, was in bars and getting drunk and doing the rocker thing. Where punk rock was more about like, no, we're into the community, we're into self-determination, we're into, controlling our own destinies. And the X was like a physical symbol for that. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. Yeah. It was rebellious.
I was also into punk rock.
It's like the English W.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's interesting. So it's more like wookish.
Wookish. That's cool.
Yeah, in Europe they mix up their V's and their L's and their W's. They don't know how to speak. They never they never learned.
That's such a Western way of looking at it. Stop.
No, you're called the. No, I'm sorry, wookish. I'm joking.
Okay, what were we gonna say though?
No, I mean not to rain on your teenage rebellion.
Oh yeah, wookish. That's
not to
phonetic
shit
for
all
West.
over your.
Don't shit on my rebellion, my youth rebellion.
The straight edge kids, it was just funny because there was this. Essentially, there's a bucking of the system, right? Where punk rock comes from, like from the soul. It's kind of like this underground man spitting in the face of God, like. Doing things for shock value and to take control and agency, right? And it is that, but part of that was like getting fucked up, right? Like, and that's where people would go in a rebellious thing. And then there were kids that were like kind of too afraid to do that or didn't. And then they said, well, the X's make us tough. And it's like, I don't know, dog. Let's see.
Again, it's all perspective. It's all perspective.
Yeah. Like how you frame a thing. It is.
Essentially, it's like a sense of belonging, and when it comes down to it, it's finding a tribe that aligns with your, your way of living. So.
Because I was wondering, like as a Mormon kid growing up, and that was your rebellious phase, the most rebellious thing you did was be straight edge.
I stayed out late.
Was not rebel really. It was kind of follow the rules.
I would sneak out a lot of my house. That was kind of rebellious. Like if I never got caught, but like if I did, I'm sure I would have been like ended. Because my parents were very strict. I would just go and meet up with my friends in the neighborhood, and we just roll around the neighborhood in the middle of the night. That happened once. We would break into public. We would break into the public pool and go swimming at like midnight. And we just like, we would have, outdoor adventures, vandalize a little bit, spray paint things in the middle of the night.
Rascals.
Rascal stuff, nothing crazy, but the act of sneaking out like through my window and like traipsing around the neighborhood and the city in the middle of the night was it was a very dangerous thing for me to do, considering how my parents, kind of manage the house.
So once you get out of the house, and pretty quickly you already you went from there to just having a family, right? Like, cause you got married pretty early, had kids pretty early,
we had a little bit of time together, my wife and I, before we had kids. I said that I'm not ready for kids. We'll talk about it later is what I told her. And then eventually we had kids, and but we had a space, a pretty good space where it was just, we were the two of us.
And I've never really asked you about this. But like, how religious did you raise your kids at first?
Well, we stopped being religious when they were fairly young. I think my daughter, my oldest, was maybe in her 3 and 4th year. And so they have memory of like going to...
But they were so young, wasn't that big of
a deal. Yeah. And like the way that we do it now, like they kind of identify with being post-religious as their default. So they know that they
Is that a term, post-religious?
It is a term.
Okay.
Yeah. It means you used to be religious.
I don't know. It's like the opposite of born again.
Dead again.
It's dead again. Yeah. It's like, we're post-religious now. Yeah. It kind of is the opposite of born again.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I think it is in a lot of ways being born again. Like when I'll say that. Yeah. Like, so like one of the big factors of religiosity is just kind of sensing your place in the universe. I'm a child of God. Like I have a reason for life. Where I'm going afterwards is kind of somewhat defined. I think those hallmarks of religiosity are kind of inverted when you leave religion, but I would also say maximized. Like we kind of what you were saying earlier is that like we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're on this ride right now. Like all we have is the present. And when that becomes really concretely clear to you, and it did so for me after I left religion, the weight of the responsibility of freedom, as Sartre says, it becomes very visceral. But also, I've had greater experiences looking out at the stars and feeling awe and wonder in a much more impactful and intense way than I ever did when I thought that there was,
Sky Daddy was doing it.
Sky Daddy was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that like
this is an interesting thing because what you're bringing up are two things, right? There's like a temporal thing, the promise of the future, heaven, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's the current. You were talking about the moment. And regardless of what we may or may not know about what happens to our consciousness later, there's also this current state of the universe now in the moment.
Yeah.
And whether that's conscious and loves you, I don't think it matters. I have a great argument, right? Like there's the four horsemen of the atheists, the Dawkins and Sam Harris and Hitchens and I can't remember the other guys, but and I I'm a fan of kind of any anti-dogma or anti-fantasy movement, but I don't really like how the staunch like there is no God without taking a minute to like define what that word means.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if they define what the word means, they can actually get through to people a little bit better and say, maybe there is God, but here's what I'm saying. If the true definition of the word is not just reality, but a conscious reality. Okay. And whether it's aware of us and created us or didn't or whatever, I don't think it matters because as soon as there's a consciousness, as soon as it is experiencing something, it's now separate from that which it's experiencing, and it's not the one true God. Any conscious side of reality can't be to the true Tao, right? There's a right because once something's conscious, it's just kind of just another guy. You can go to him and be like,
yeah,
were you born? He'd be like, no, I've always been. And you'd be like, can you die? And he'd be like, no, I don't think so. And you'd be like, are you sure? I don't think so.
And he's like,
I'm pretty sure not. And you're like, you're the only one of you. And he's like, yeah. And you could be like, how do you know you're not dreaming? How do you know you're not in some matrix? And God would be like, in all of his wisdom, couldn't tell you.
Right.
Whether you knew. It's just another guy having the same issue you have, wondering if there's
Sky
a God
Daddy
out there.
himself is in the simulation.
Any conscious entity experiencing a thing is at the mercy of those same questions about its own experience.
I think that's a really, really great observation. I really think that's great. So he's
just another guy. So it doesn't matter if there's a God or not, or if we're in a simulation or not. None of it matters.
Well, I think that God is a really, really strong metaphor for this kind of experience, like the thing that we can't really talk about that we all kind of have it together, and sometimes the collective conscience, sometimes say like the big it, whatever it is. I think God is a good metaphor for that. And sometimes it's like overly personified. And
how do you recover this channel? What does that mean?
How do you recover this channel?
Yeah, maybe we've gone off the rails.
Oh, talking about God?
About philosophy and God? No.
I think I don't know.
If you're here for DevTips, this is the meat on the bones, people.
This is the development. This is the personal, develop your life. Travis. Yeah. Sebastian's like disappointed. Sorry, bro. But yeah, anyway, I think that that's a really, really good way of thinking about it. Like if something is aware of itself, then obviously it's inside of an environment that is.
If something's aware at all.
Yeah.
It's aware of something, even if it's of itself. And that awareness is a separate position. That is the ultimate, like, illusory, one of the illusory factors of being a human, right? Because ultimately you're not thinking, you're experiencing your brain processing information. Right. The you think is you is like milliseconds behind everything that's happening. Right.
Yeah.
And you're not fully, there's a bunch of deep dives on free will, right? Like down to the synapses in your brains and your neurological makeup, your chemical makeup, your genetics. You're not in control of any of that.
Yeah.
So how much control do you really have?
This dude, David Hoffman, did you hear that podcast? He was on, I think it was like Joe Rogan or something, but like he's this mathematician who was like, I've mathematically proved that we're in a simulation.
Oh, I think I did come across that. Tell me what give me
your
thesis.
So cool the way he thought about it. He was like, similar to what you're saying. He's like, you have sensory stimulus and you have the sensing. So like, for example, your awareness of what you're sensing is milliseconds behind what's actually happening, right? You hear somebody's voice, they've already spoken. So he's like, and given like the amount of sense data in the world possible, the amount of data in the universe, and how coarse our sensory tools are, right? We have eyes, nose, mouth, ears, hands, and we have a lot of senses, but those are the big ones. Mm-hmm. Given how coarse those tools,
hands are one of the big ones.
Hands, big hands, touch. But given how coarse those sense tools are, there's like a very small number. The very small amount of data that we're actually processing to construct our the way that we understand the world. Like you could say an easy example of that is
can't see the whole light spectrum.
Light spectrum, right? That's a really good example.
Subsonic sounds,
exactly.
Or subperceptual things,
Yes, and he's like, given that, the difference between what's available and what we can see. Mm-hmm. And these other factors, he's like, we crunched the numbers, we have the formulas, we did the math. He's like, there's no way. I mean, just like when you think about it, and you really analyze it, like your brain is this computer floating around in like a controlled machine.
Well, you're in liquid. It's floating in a liquid thing, spinal fluid, essentially.
But the brain has no senses of itself. Like if I opened my skull and started touching it, I wouldn't be able to feel it. But if I'm hungry, or if I, started poking at my, abdomen, you could feel it. So like, it's like an interesting thing that So anyway, he's like, we did the numbers and it's a simulation.
But
like when you look at it,
my argument for negating the importance of God is the same for negating the importance of a simulation. So to define a simulation, it would have to be something that's indiscernible from base reality. And what they say is, we'll make a bunch of those. They'll be indiscernible from base reality. But have you ever seen that game that they play with the cups where they had the queen? Where's the queen, or the folded cards?
Yes.
And you can't tell the difference anymore. Mm-hmm. That's ultimately, if it's indiscernible from a simulation, and if any simulation that's made would be based off of base reality, you can crunch numbers all day, and it's going to look like a simulation because this is what the simulation would be based off of, and the simulation would be indiscernible. And if there was, and if it's true that it's more likely that humans or any conscious entity of the future would make an infinite amount of these simulations that are indiscernible, ultimately you would find yourself in a world where everybody has lost track of what world is real if it becomes indiscernible.
Yeah.
But even coming all the way back down to base reality, if it's just another reality at that point, it's just another, you can't really tell the difference between the base reality and the simulation. Let's say there is some conscious entity that's simulating this. It goes for the same. If you go up to a level and you ask them, is there a God? They'd be like, I don't know. Are you in a simulation? They'd be like, we don't know. And we don't know. It's the same questions all the way up. As long as you're a conscious entity experiencing anything, that experience is always in question.
A phrase that I like is the phrase durable illusion.
Mm-hmm. I like that phrase too.
Yeah, it's a durable illusion, meaning there's a lot of things you can count on. If I run into a wall, it's going to feel a certain way. If I talk to somebody, they're going to receive me a certain way. So there's a lot of durability to the illusion, but it's at its core very much an illusion.
Well, if that's an illusion, I think whatever you experience is real, as far as you're concerned, as far as like reality. Your definition of reality is just that which can be experienced, right? That is the reality that's experienced. So Sebastian says, what if we were put here by an advanced civilization and we lost track of it? Or maybe they were still waiting around watching us.
Ooh.
That's
Prometheus.
also a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, I like
But
that
it's
idea.
the same thing, whether it's God, a simulation, or an advanced civilization. All three of these are almost literary crutches for telling a story that we're trying to tell. And what is that story? That we're not alone? That we're not truly alone?
Yeah,
Is that
maybe.
really the story? Because, if there is a God and that word represents reality, then even the minds within that reality are that. We are God and are a piece of it. And if it is ultimately one thing, then it is a truly isolated existence.
I like the idea. There's
lonely.
this.
So we got to tell ourselves there's an advanced civilization or.
Yeah. This comes down to what Ernest Becker calls the denial of death.
Yeah.
The denial of death essentially is that like the reason that we need these stories is, and to believe that there's something bigger or whatever, is because we're just afraid of dying. That's the reason that we put our names on libraries. That's the reason we have kids. That's the reason that we do anything. It's because we're just afraid of dying.
I think death is a motivator. That's in the future. But remember earlier I was splitting things, right? There's the future and then there's the current state of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being truly alone inside of yourself is the real fear that everyone has.
Being alone.
We're not connected to anything, right? Like as soon as you're born and you cut that umbilical cord, you're left to rot in reality, right? And you're not connected. You bounce around this environment, never truly connected, right? Until you have children, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That there's some type of connection, but then there's separate bodies in space that go on their own separate journeys and lifetimes and stuff, right? So you're isolated in your skull, in that brain. What's that?
Oh, I think like the idea of needing connection as well is you could argue, for Ernest Becker's point of view, to say like it's still about the denial of death because you want somebody to witness you. Yeah. Can you verify that I'm here? Can you witness? Can you track my growth and evolution as a person? Because
but the problem is if you don't know those people are truly real. Or if
they're durable enough
and it's all one thing, then it's just you watching yourself and it's still this true deep existential loneliness and isolation.
They're durable NPCs.
Nah, we're having a good time. We're having fun.
We're having fun. I like this, when talking about like the observer versus the observed, or maybe even like you said, like if it's a consciousness, it cannot be the system itself. Mm-hmm. I like the way that I'm losing the reference, but it is this quote like that we are the eyes of the universe observing itself. I really,
I think it's Deepak Chopra or something.
It is,
also, we're the nerve endings of the universe feeling.
I really
itself.
like that because like it's like if you think about the journey of life to get us here. We watch the Tree of Life, right? And it's kind of like all about like starting from just clouds of carbon and eventually eventuating in like a podcast. Like it's a long, tedious process, but the end game, or at least the end game so far, is for us to have this conversation, be able to observe what reality is like, to comment on what it feels like to be alive inside of the universe, where the universe itself could never comment on that itself and experience that itself. So I really like that idea that like we're a product of the universe. You're going to feel like a fool
when I show you God's podcast.
I want to make a joke about your grandma being on Tinder again, and like God, because he knows all the dead people, something like that. I can't put it together though. Dave says, this is why you guys create things, so that you could pass it on. Again, because you don't want to be forgotten.
Yeah, see, this is a thing that when it comes to creating things, I try my best. I think it's, what's the word? Is it autotelic? When something is done for the sake of it? When you make music for the sake of making music, not for people to hear it, not for like to pass it on. And it's very difficult to do anything from that place. Yeah. But I've been trying to be in that place where I'm in it for the moment. Like when I was showing you the design and of my new site that I'm working on, it's like, to what end? What am I doing this for? I just think it's cool. I'm enjoying it now.
Yeah.
like, I
when
don't
you're in
care.
that creative process and you're in
Yeah.
flow, your frontal lobes, according to like the science of flow, right, are dimmed, they're diminished, they're quieted for a little bit. It's like the anxiety of life, even the anxiety of experiencing life or the rush of experiencing life, whatever, is dimmed, and you're kind of like back there.
Yeah.
You're more channeling the universe more so than when you're kind of like,
well, I think you're stepping aside. In the last episode, we talked about like the conversation that you and I had about just some personal issues you're going through, and I was talking about the different layers. You have the executive functioning side of yourself that gets in the way. Flow is that guy gets out of the way. And,
that's right.
And calling it that guy, and I wanted to bring this up, like when I was saying whether it's aliens or God or a simulation, like whatever other conscious entity they may be, it's just another dude. It's another guy. It's another person. And it says, and you say, okay, well, where does that line stop? Right?
Okay.
And I don't think it does, right? You have multiple people in you, right? So like that executive side of yourself, that's a guy that needs to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. And you step back, and then kind of the body does a thing. And the interesting thing about flow, it is only achievable when things can be automated, right? When a task is sufficiently difficult to stimulate you, but you have enough knowledge and familiarity of the task to do the thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's when flow occurs.
That's right.
Because you have enough knowledge and practice that you can get out of the way and kind of do it in this automatic fashion.
But that's kind of like what you're saying, like when you can create something for the joy of just creating it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's paired with flow for me. Like I'm in the zone.
Well, that
flowing.
is the drug you're seeking. Flow is a drug. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the most powerful drug that we have.
I love it.
For real.
Yeah.
If you could take what flow is and put it in a pill, they won't need to sell vaccines and opiates anymore.
Yeah, you just have like a bunch of productive people being happy. I like it.
Going back to our political thing earlier, anyway.
No,
be careful mentioning certain words.
No, that's totally what they do, right? Like opiates are and stuff is they take your executive function and quiet it down so you can just vibe.
Yeah. The interesting thing about flow
is like a flow simulator, not quite the same.
Yeah. But often flow, when you're making something, you'll look back and be like, I don't even know how I made that, or I don't remember how it just kind of came out.
Like that video that I showed you a minute ago. Like sometimes, like now in my perspective, today's Travis, I look at that and I'm like, dude, ooh, good move.
Yeah.
Wow. Like I'm impressed
with
by
that
guy. That was a different guy. Totally.
It's a different guy.
Totally.
It's a different time, different.
I couldn't do it today for sure. Like here's the machine. I can't do that. I can't play it that way anymore.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like we are, and I use the word guys, not like guys and girls, like as a person. We're all people, right? But we're all different people. And we may as well just be different and at different times. Like you were a different guy yesterday. If you get someone when they're tired and haven't eaten, and then you get them later in the day when they've eaten and kind of rested and they feel better, it's a different guy. It's a different person now, literally. And like, I think if we just kind of embraced our own impermanence, not the fear of death sometime in the future, but the death that's constantly happening to us. We're constantly just a different guy. We're constantly becoming a different person, and the person we were is constantly dying, you know? But I think that's a good thing. It's fun to have a bunch of people in your head.
It's fun. It's less lonely.
Yeah. And that's why and you could say, hey, that's why God made us. It's fun to have a bunch of people in your head because it's less lonely.
Because we're all just a bunch God's stream.
We're just a bunch of voices in the head of God. Yeah.
I think we cracked it. I think we figured it out.
I think we figured it out. Yeah. But flow, it is interesting because there's something about like mindfulness.
Yeah.
And there's a relationship with flow, and you can be in flow and be more present than you can be with anything else. But there is that sense that you're kind of along for the ride. You're, letting Jesus take the wheel, and you don't remember I don't even remember how I made that. And there's a kind of almost like a lack of presence. It's almost like a mind wandering state.
Yes.
Whereas
and
like
when you start to observe it,
it
kind of takes you out of flow. When you start saying like, "Wow, look at this," then you're
look too closely at it, you lose it.
Yeah, which is an interesting aspect.
Yeah.
I want you to play some music though.
Okay, let's end it on this. We were going to end almost an hour ago, and we kept going. But even though Sebastian, I'm sorry about the philosophical God talk. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm not sorry. It's fine.
I'm not sorry. Yeah. But
Sebastian
that's why we ended up going an extra hour.
Sebastian was enlightened, whether he liked it or not.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important.
Totally.
It's the most, if anything's going to be important, that's pretty important, right?
Right.
The current nature of reality.
If you're going to get any development tips,
state of the universe,
these are the tips.
Yeah.
These are the development tips that you're going to need to get you through. Yeah.
All right. I'll play one track and we'll go out on that. I'll play a video that I'm working on.
This is unfinished? It's
unfinished. The song is unfinished. The video is unfinished. I mentioned it earlier. I flipped these as part of it was Stay of Flow that took me to the end. I think of
State.
Show. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dave.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun stuff. We're just out here having fun.
We're just having fun, guys.
We're just out here having good times. I'm going to open this up in Dropbox in this tab so I can share this tab directly.
Okay.
And this I did as like a sample flip contest just for fun, as far as the song. And I ended up making 2. So then I was like, I'll just put these out as like a little EP, or like an A-side and a B-side, put it out as a single album. And the sample flip contest was from Eldre, who is a YouTube producer, lo-fi YouTube producer, awesome dude, one of my favorite people out there putting that kind of content online. So I've been following for a while. When I saw that, I was like, hey, this will be a good motivation to make something fun. And his EP was called Bonita, so I called mine Casa Bonita. Because it's funny and I love that South Park episode.
What happens in that episode?
Eric Cartman wants to go to Casa Bonita. I think it's Butter's birthday, if I remember correctly, and it's going to be at Casa Bonita.
Is that a restaurant or something? It's
Casa a restaurant. You know what I found out?
What?
My very good friend and ex-girlfriend, Allie, works at Casa Bonita. Like, I posted the first version, so this one is unreleased, but the first one, side A, I released already.
Oh, okay.
And it says Casa Bonita, and she sent me a picture of her name tag, and apparently she just started working there, and I was like, there's a place called Casa Bonita. Now, as it turns out, the restaurant in the episode, in the South Park episode, a big restaurant with like trees and rivers, and they have these divers that do a show and dive and mariachis. It's a wild place.
Oh.
When she told me she was working there, and she told me that Matt Stone and Trey Parker bought the place.
Oh.
Because I guess it closed, and I was a little confused because I figured that they opened up the restaurant from the show. As it turns out, they grew up there. The restaurant already existed, and the restaurant on that episode was based on a real restaurant.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
And so they grew up going to this wild place, and I guess they bought it and like keep it alive. And it's it's a real version of Casa Bonita from the episode, from one episode of South Park.
That's funny.
And they bought this restaurant and they kept it running.
I like those guys.
Yeah. So if anybody is out in Colorado, I think that's where it is, Denver, somewhere.
South Park.
Denver. Yeah. Go check out Casa Bonita.
Okay.
It's exactly like the episode.
Far out. Let's see the video.
Okay. So so I made this, and then I found out that I couldn't even, because I don't live in the US, I couldn't participate. So so it was just for funsies anyway.
But at least you got a really awesome video out of it.
Yeah. Let's see, Chrome tab. All right. So, can you hear this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. So, we'll do a little premiere of this.
A Supra joint.
Let's see if I can do this. How does that look?
It looks good.
There we go. Casa Bonita side B.
What sounds were the sample?
The
flute?
the sample from his track on this song, there's some strings, very light on the right, going.
I hear them.
Just kind of during that kind of sulfur style. That was from one track, and then the keys. I can actually show you the original sample.
Well, let's finish hearing this one. I didn't mean to interrupt you so much. Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. Because I find this interesting. I think it's cool because like this original sample was in a B minor or F sharp minor. So I tuned it down to E, and this whole song is actually an E minor. And it was this. Oh, you probably can't hear this though.
No, I can't hear whatever if you're playing something.
Yeah, you can only hear it coming from the tab. Okay, so then I guess I won't play it for you.
Okay. No,
So
it's cool
I'll
to know
just play
that
this
though.
one.
Like it's like the strings and then the keys.
Yeah, that's what I started with.
Okay.
And then I grabbed some tom sample, kind of rearranged it, cleaned it up, and then got some dirty bass. And then I recorded my bass to try to like match that, which I switched to and play like almost the same thing, but it just during the B section, but it just so there was another kind of texture, like it's slightly different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm excited.
All right, I'll keep playing it.
I love this scene here. We have that prismatic effect on it.
Kaleidoscope. Yeah, I've been getting really into like color grading.
It looks amazing, dude. You live in such a beautiful space.
It's so pretty here, yeah.
I want to come visit.
Yeah, you should. It's awesome here. I mean, yeah, look at it. It's beautiful everywhere you go here. Yeah, so this section I need to swap out. Put some kind of other lead. It just kind of drags on here a little too long musically.
Okay.
But it's got vibe, right? It's all vibe.
Vibe. It's very vibey.
And this part, I fell in love with this like sonic flavor because it feels like a 1970s detective show.
Yeah. A lot of mystery.
Yeah.
Very discovery.
And I'm saying, yeah, and what I'm saying there, that's me singing in like I have a voice like this.
Oh, nice.
I'm saying, well, and I have to re-record that because I sang it wrong. That was just like a draft, so I have to go back. Because there I'm saying satisfy my soul. I can't define my love. But I'm gonna go back and add another line. Settle down, satisfy my soul. I can't define my love, and that'll just be the hook.
Very cool.
It's pretty fun stuff.
What's your process for capturing your vocals? Do you put a lot of filters and stuff on them? Like, how do you
depends
dress
on
them
what
up?
the track
Because I get
is looking
self-conscious about my recorded voice. I love singing. I sing every day. But
yeah, you sing good. I've heard you sing.
Thank you, sir. But I'm always very self-conscious about sharing it. I used to have a YouTube channel, or was it a YouTube channel? But it was called Good Songs Sung Badly because I just wanted to get ahead of that and be like, no, they're bad, but it's fun. So what's your process for vocals?
It depends on the song. Because I write a lot of different stuff. Like I have acoustic folk stuff. So that is going to be vocal up front. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of reverb, maybe a little bit of like slapback delay, just cleaning it up. But that's going to be more up front. For something like that, the vocals are meant to sound like a sample. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of in the background. So that I was just kind of singing through auto-tune and just drenched it in reverb and turned it down.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it depends on the track. Obviously, if usually you want to double up your vocals unless you're doing something very like just acoustic singer-songwriter. But as soon as you start having any more production, you got to have some more layers. Even if you don't hear those layers, even if they're turned down, it just, it makes the voice more present.
Yeah, dude.
Front. It is funny for you to type a comment in here.
Yeah.
It's like, and then show it. It's like,
I thought that was funny. Dude, thanks for sharing that today. That's awesome.
Thanks for letting me.
Shycrush.com. We're going to see your update come out soon. How long do you think that will take until it's released, your update?
Well, I'm working on. I think I might just do it tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started on it today. I can probably do it tonight. I'm gonna hang
looks
out
good.
after I
I
walk
like
my
that.
dog and
Yeah.
just do some programming, do some coding for fun. Yeah.
Far out, man. Cool. Let's wrap it up, right? We're done with this this episode. All right. Thanks for everybody for joining in. A lot of fun, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Ciao.
Bye.